Good morning, Justin Equinage. Back at the fairgrounds. Great card today. Although we're in race 9. We got to go back to race 1. First post, 13 minutes. 6 horse taking tons and tons of action. Was the favorite here, Rising Inflation. But I thought you could beat this horse today. But thanks everybody for joining. They got great state bred card. I believe is it 5 state bred stakes? So 1, 2, 3, 4 state bred, 1 normal stakes. Race 8's just a normal stakes. Race 8's tough. That's one of the tough. The turf races are good. Pick 6 definitely a play today. I'm not sure it'll pay the jackpot because of the last race. If the 3 or 4 don't win the last race, maybe, but it's a good sequence. I think that Creole Chrome and race 7 can be beat, but we'll get there in a second. Race 1, 12 minutes. For sure, I'll play here. I like the 1 horse, Highly Wicked. Let's watch the race sim. They're going 8. Highly Wicked in an impressive 7 for 7, going 8 furlongs on the turf course. You don't see that often. There is some speed out front. It's not easy to wire the field. Tommy G and the 2 going to be out there. I think the 1 sits the trip. I like the trifecta here, but just key the 1 on top. 1 win the race sim, loves the turf. I think the 3 has a chance to still run second, maybe third, but I see it between 2, 3, 6 underneath. But I like Highly Wicked. Would be one of my best bets of the day. If you're an E user, you can see that. I think there's enough speed here. She's beat 68s and 66s, dominated at fairgrounds at the meet last year. You can see here in these stakes races. She came in December last year, raced on the turf, beat a 66, stocking the pace, then beat another 66 back in March last year. But, here this year, she hasn't won. She burned money, but those were verse much, much tougher. She finds a way easier group today in a 64 strength of race. And those were verse 68 and 70s. I don't love that she lost, but she did lose verse tougher. They stretch back out. She wants 8 furlongs. And both those efforts were not 8 furlongs, 5.5 and 8.5. And as I talked about as we started, look, 7 for 7 at 8 furlongs. But the three horse can run here underneath. So don't just think the 6 is the player underneath. The 3 can get there. But I like the 1 on top, like the exacta, like the tries in race 1. If we go to race 2, I think you can daily double into the 1 horse as well. Maybe a little bit on the 7 with the odds, do a little bit of dutching, fewer dollars on the 7, more on the 1. I love the daily double there. The 1 horse can easily wire this group. And I also like the exacta 1, 7. And maybe it's just a cold daily double. 1, 1. If you're playing horizontals, 1, 1. And then a 1, 7 exacta. Also in race 2, I think is a play. That's where my strongest opinions were. You all, like, honestly, the rest of the card, as I mentioned, the pick 6, I thought was pretty tough. But when we look at what's love, it's a maiden. She's dropping from much, much tougher. She's on the rail. She was in the 6 post last out, nearly wired the field, now dropped 6 points in SOR. I just think she's better than this group. It's really not a great state bred main special. And Mr. Brett Calhoun just gets a much, much easier spot for her. And I think she's going to be extremely tough to beat. So I like the 1 there. In race 3, I thought this was a tough race. I was 3-1 would be my top 2 picks to try to beat Daryl's Bolt. But I think Inca Empire and Bigfoot Sighting do have a little bit of looks at some long shots, longer odds. So going to have to make a choice in the pick 6 of whether you go narrow here in this race again. But I was 3-1, 4-6, 10. But I might narrow in the pick 6 and just use 3-1. But it's a tough claimer. I mean, it's a 7-5 claimer. So this is a very, very competitive race. And again, I think the 4-6-10 fit. I'm not sure about the 2 soul coaxing, but tough race there. Race 4, they're on the turf. I am 12-4, 10-9, 8. The 1 and 7 would be deep, deep ads. So if you're playing horizontals, but not a super strong opinion here. I thought this was a tough turf main special, so we'll keep going. Um, I didn't think that race 5, it's an allowance group. I didn't think this was all about Trust Fund Philly, although it's the top Scotty pick. I thought any of these 4 can win. Again, not a huge strong opinion, just bluffing. Broker Maiden last out. It did it fairly impressively. Won by three and a quarter lengths for Foley. But Solon Bow, I thought could wire the field, and the 3 or 5, I thought could sit the trip. So, I thought race 5 fairly tough. Again, my strongest opinions are those first 2 races. We got first post in 6 minutes. So we'll let you go before we get there. I narrowed to these 4 in the state bred stakes. I think the 8 and 9 both can run up front. My long shot of the day is Laser Clad. Many of these horses do not want the turf. I think they entered here hoping that this race was they knew rain was gonna come, and it came. Well, yesterday we were off the turf, but they left this stuff on today. I think many of these thought that this race might get called off onto the dirt, but it didn't. It stays here. All Night Moonlight's probably going to be your favorite. I think Boss of All Bosses is a huge morning line angle. We'll watch the race sim here. 8 and 9 both going to show speed. It's really tough to wire the field, but it is a wet turf track. I mean, it comes up good. So, let's see what happens with the speed early. And I think you got to pay attention to both these runners because I think they both fit here. But Laser Clad 20 to 1's insane. You see, it's the Scotty long shot. I think this horse can sit a really good trip and wants the turf. You'll see that the 9 horse and the 2 horse are here, the 2 players, but the 10 also still closing a little bit here on the race sim and ends up being right there at the finish. And we look at Laser Clad, 1, 3 back. They stretch out to 8.5. The GSR goes up and just missed in these races, right? I mean, they were 60s and 64s. I think fits at this state bred 66 level. I think this horse wants the turf. I think you can toss all these dirt races, lightly raced. All Night Moonlight's been running and is going to probably be the favorite, would be my expectation here. I think the 9, will take action with the morning line like that. But I like these 4. And again, Laser Clad would be my long shot of the day. Probably takes money, but I still think you get a good price. Race 7's a good one. So we'll talk about this, and then we got 2 more. I think Creole Chrome's a sprinter. I think that Creole Chrome wants to sprint. This would be my vulnerable favorite of the day. You can see how wide open this race is. My top pick would be More Force, the 6. I think has a big chance here, but I'm gonna have to. I haven't put a pick 6 together yet, but I think that this is gonna be the leg where I have to decide. I'm not even gonna use the 4. I'm gonna toss the 4 because I think this horse wants to sprint, and we'll look at that. And you can see, and I always mention, for Equine Edge, if you don't like a horse that wins the race sim, cut it. Look, the 6 win by 2 lengths. So, because the pick 6, I think I'm going to have coverage in a lot of races. I might go narrow here. I might even think of singling More Force because I'm so against Creole Chrome. When we look at Creole Chrome, our genetic strength is 2 for 3. But when we look at our GSR plus grid, this horse is bred all day, but the top numbers are all sprint numbers. And that does concern me for Creole Chrome, for Joe Sharp. Nice horse for 3 Diamonds Farm. They decided to stay here and race in this state-bred group. I think that there were other options across the country today to race, whether that was up in New York and Gulfstream Park, but they decided to stay here. So, but More Force would be my top pick to upset. And then if I'm spreading, you're using a bunch. But I like More Force quite a bit. Again, I'm against Creole Chrome, would be my vulnerable favorite of the day. Race 8, I think McCready has a shot. I am 4, 5, 1, 8 here. 2 and 6 would be like really deep spreads. You ultimately end up going all But I like the 4-5-1-8, but not strong confidence. You can see win percents are pretty wide open. I'll show you the race sim. I want to make sure we hop off before the first race. 4 and 5 are both right there. One there. And then the last is a great stake bread. Break and Papa might be a single. The 4 beat the 3 last out, ended up winning by nearly 2 lengths. They had a nice stretch duel, but the 3 gave it up late. The 3, I think, my only thought process to turn the table is when you look here, the 4 was a length back. Can the 3 maybe get loose here? You know, the track's good. Maybe it's back to normal and just a dry track by end of the day. When we watch the race sim, it to me is between those two here. So I was just 4-3 in the last. Breaking Papa for Steve, a really nice state bred. 3-year-old filly, you know, again, 1-2 in a row, and she beat the 3 last out fairly handily. The 3 took a lot of action, but the 4, you know, was nearly 4-1, ended up winning that race. You look at the 2, just broke its maiden, barely won. Fade to Gold won easily, but had burned money. And then the 6, I don't know, you know, comes out of Delta, which could be a little bit sneaky. That would be the long shot look here, but you know, 4-3, I think, have this race. All right, y'all. They're about to go. I wish you all luck. Have fun. Press your opinion. Great day of racing in New York and also down in Florida at Gulfstream Park. And a great card here at Fairgrounds. Great state bred stakes. And again, we like the 1 in the first, the 1 in the second. All right, y'all. Have a good day. Chat soon.